How bad is this shortage really?
Well, the inventory shortage is a major slowing factor for the for-sale housing market. But we can't forget the fact that the change in the real estate industry over the last 10 years is probably the turnaround story of the last half century. Think about where we were 10 years ago when over-leveraged houses and overbuilt houses were causing the global financial crisis. Where we are today is a shortage of inventory, very cautious lenders that have caused that shortage of inventory to a large extent, and higher cost of development. All of that is frustrating from a consumer perspective, but it's actually very healthy from an investment and economic perspective for the U.S. as a whole.
I get that, but I don't understand why builders have been reluctant to build more. I mean, they had overbuilt prior to the collapse in 2008. That's usually their default move, is to overbuild at times. But they have underbuilt at this point, especially on the low end for those first-time buyers who we are told show great demand. They just can't find things that they can afford right now. So why do we find ourselves still with this bottleneck caused by those home builders?
Bill, you're absolutely right in the fact that the demand is there. It is not what it would have been had this been a normal expansion. Most first-time home buyers will be buying homes a lot more aggressively. They are not. They're preferring to rent. The rental market has been on a tear over the last 5 or 6 years because the consumer habits changed over the last 5 or 6 years. People got burned in the downturn by speculating on housing. That is no longer the case on the consumer side. And then again, I go back to the increase in land costs, the labor costs, the materials cost increases for building a new product, which doesn't pencil out at the entry level. Therefore, most builders have to now build higher-end units in order to increase profitability. We're seeing that both on the for-sale side and the apartment rental side.
So will we see a new generation of home buyers in millennials, or does this housing shortage and the fact that millennials just really like renting mean that it's going to be a while before millennials are interested in actually buying?
As far as we can see, it's not just the millennials that are preferring to rent. You also have empty nesters, people who have owned homes that no longer need the larger houses that they've had over the last couple of decades, opting to rent, especially in central business district areas near entertainment, near restaurants, and so on. That's a trend that's here to stay. The other thing that's really important is that the lack of speculation now being applied versus other expansions by the developers. Bill was talking about the past cycles where builders would tend to overbuild. Not only is that not happening because of lenders being more conservative, but builders themselves have become smarter, and they are preventing the lessons, or if you will, the hard lessons learned in 2008, 2009 from happening again.
Thank goodness rates are as low as they have been. We've been hovering very close to 4% here nationally on average. What's your outlook for 2020? I mean, knowing that the Fed doesn't plan to do anything in the meantime.
We really felt very strongly that in 2018 the Fed was overzealous, and the 4 increases were creating a lot of disruption in the real estate markets, both commercial real estate and residential real estate. And we're glad to see a correction of that path into at least some adjustments in 2019. The 3 rate reductions really helped psychology quite a bit on both commercial and residential. And the position of basically being neutral, I think it's just right, because inflation is not a problem. We're seeing job resurgence come back because of the more positive expectations of 2009 and 2020, because the Fed is no longer the risk factor as it was a year ago going into 2019.
Right.